Okay, the video I'm just sharing with you guys is one of the companions. It's one of the new knives, the companions that are coming out. Got some companions coming out right now. One's going to head over to Rocky Mountain Discount Sports over here locally. Another one is actually going to be probably what we're planning on is a raffle knife towards the end of the year. That's going to be pretty cool. Going to work on that for Veterans Day, Marine Corps birthday. So we'll actually have a companion to raffle off at the end of the year. So you're going to have to keep an eye out for that. And then two others are going to be homeless. So I'm just going to have those available. Two of the four companions I'm making, two of them are actually Forgotten Coast canine versions. You'll have to check the website out to see what that looks like. The other two companions are going to be unique. They have unique stabilized woods and 1/4-inch mosaic pins. Be really special. It's going to be really nice. And those will actually have laser engraving available. But the other two are actually Forgotten Coast canine companions. There have been people in the past that have always critiqued me about things because I've always said I freehand all my knives. I do. I don't use a jig. I don't use a jig and a table and do my knives. I wasn't taught that way. I've tried. I don't like it because it don't feel right or natural or anything else. I have one for other people to try to use as I do a knife build class. I personally don't like it. And I also try to teach everybody that comes into the shop every time. I try to teach them how to freehand it because that's just the more natural way of doing things. It's more organic, or however you want to look at it. But in doing so, I have had people in the past say, you're cheating. You're using a jig. No, this is a filing guide. And a filing guide is used for a couple different reasons. One, if you do anything like a hidden tang on a Bowie or a Puko, like I've done in the past, use a file guide because you want to file the shoulders of the blade perfectly to fit in with your bolster or within the wood of the handle because it's a hidden tang or a rat tail tang, so it goes into the wood and you don't see the tang anymore. A full tang, like I do and a lot of other makers do, a full tang, you would use a file guide like I do because when I make my kitchen knives or when I do Forgotten Coast canine knives, and the Amarok and stuff like that, they have an angled plunge line. And to make sure that angled plunge line is even on both sides, I use a file guide to start me off. I'll use my 40 and my 80 grit, and then I usually take it off at 120 and 200 grit, and I no longer use a file guide at that point. The file guide is helping me make sure that my angles are really good because that's more like a 22-degree angle or something, where others are more like a 40-ish degree angle. Using a file guide is the best way to ensure that you got a perfect plunge on both sides. It looks nice and even. So no, it's not cheating. It's just doing what works right. Now going to the part where somebody has mentioned, well, are you cheating if you use a jig? No. Some people just don't have the ability to make a knife without a jig. So don't feel bad either as a maker or as a hobbyist that you have to use a jig. Like I said, I have a jig here. I have never used it. I kind of clamped a knife to it. As you can see, it's nice and clean. I clamped a knife to it and I just didn't like it. I kind of lit it. It's perfectly clean. A little dusty from running on the top of the platen or the table. But I just didn't like it. So I have it. I got an $85 jig right there for somebody to use if they're in the shop. I've taught classes where people, veterans especially, some of the guys just got like a shake in their hand and they just don't have the ability to be steady to do a good plunge and to keep a nice flat grind as you're doing it. So no, I'm not critiquing and getting on anybody for having to use a jig. I just don't use it. There are some Puritans out there that are really adamant about doing certain things. Me personally, I've always taught use the simplest things first. Keep it simple, stupid. That's freehanding. If you can freehand a knife, then awesome, good for you, because there's not a lot of us that can do that. A lot of people need jigs. And so what? Who cares? They need a jig, that's on them. Good for you. I don't use it. I don't like them. I actually can't use that. Maybe I shouldn't say that. I probably could with a lot of practice, but I've been making knives for 9 years now. This is my 9th year. And I just broke 9 years actually, because it's September. So in 9 years, I have never made a knife with a jig. I've always used them freehand. hundreds and hundreds of knives later, I still do it. Even when my hands get sore at the end of the day, I come back in, I can still make a knife by using my free hands, not a jig. File guide, not cheating. It just helps give you a better product. So to all you haters out there, all the people that are kind of criticizing other folks like myself, hey, slow your roll. It's okay. Everybody does their thing. You be you, Cupcake. I'll be me.